Hi, welcome to Silver Dove Films interview show. My name is Michael Geyer, and I am here with Brad Heller. He's an actor, an acting coach, somebody new I've never had on the show, an acting coach, and he wears many other hats, from writer, director, producer, but we're going to focus on his acting career and also his acting class. So welcome.
Welcome.
Good to have you.
Good to be here.
Yeah, and you know, actually, he's my acting coach, which is one reason I wanted him to be here, because well, that's before we get into the whole acting thing, because I have a story to tell. But before we get into that, let's talk about your career.
Sure.
Many people may recognize you from many films, Pure Flix films, and even network TV. You were recently on Criminal Minds.
Yes.
My wife and I are one of our favorite shows.
Oh, it is.
And what'd you play? I forget now, but
I play a pedophile.
Oh.
So, you know, I don't know if that's so good to be,
well, you're an actor.
It is. It is a role. It was a character.
And I told you, on America's Most Wanted, I just played a pedophile. But it's fun to play crazy roles sometimes.
Villains are my favorite.
I know.
They really are my favorite to play. I played a great villain in one of David White's films and Kevin Downs' films, Six, The Mark on
Six, yes.
I shaved my head, and I played a pretty creepy villain in that one, too. That
was a fun role.
That was one of my favorites.
Was it?
You know, as far as playing a villain, you do have to remember that it's a role. It's a character. It's really just sophisticated pretending. And when you look at it that way, I think it opens up a lot of freedom to enjoy playing different kinds of characters. You know, the technique that I teach does not involve one to have to sort of think of anything in your own personal life to get emotional. It's creating circumstances, creating a story where your character came from, and you would know this about how to evoke emotion, what a character's thinking about, and then applying it to the movie, applying it to the scene.
You know what's interesting is I don't think people realize, they see the finished product and they see the actors acting. They don't realize the words that were on a page that each actor has to somehow make come alive so that it looks natural on film. But there's a whole process, which you just talked a piece about, which is amazing.
The guy who taught me, his name was Don Richardson, and he's no longer with us, but he used to say the lines mean very little with regards to what's actually happening in the story. He used to say that we should be able to know what's happening in the film even if we turn the volume all the way down on the television. So, you know, what's going on with the person has so little to do with what we say, because I could say, hey, Michael, it's great to see you, or Michael, it's great to see you.
Yeah.
And it's a whole different story. So it's for me at least, and what I try to practice in my own work and what I teach, it's not so much about what I say, but what's motivating me to say it. So that's sort of what you're talking about with regards to all of the work that has to go into the preparation.
Yeah.
Because a lot of people, a lot of actors who are not so seasoned, they make it about the words and they just speak. But there's a lot of things that make us talk, and that's what we have to work on when we're acting.
So some of the other credits, you just did Leverage as well, I saw.
I did Leverage, yeah, and
Ghost Soldiers. Now that's a Pure Flix film that's coming out soon?
You know, it's a film that I did with David White, and I played a guy who was sort of I don't know if it's an archaeologist, and you know, sort of stumbling and looking for, you know, treasure, and
I could see that.
You know,
I could see you playing that.
And we stumble upon, you know, this crazy Indian.
Brother White was recently on television and is now on DVD, and of course you played a pastor, one of many pastors in that particular church.
I did. I kind of almost like a pastor / agent of pastors. You know, he's kind of a slime ball.
And that's with David I.R. White. He was in the film as well.
Yes.
Yeah,
David,
that was a lot of fun.
Yeah, I don't even know how many projects we've done together. It's got to be.
What was the first movie you did together? Was it The Moment After?
No, the very first movie we did together was actually called The Rock, and it was directed by John Gunn, which was a short film. He just did a movie called, I think, Dandelion Dust.
Oh, yeah, that looks fabulous.
John did My Date with Drew, and David and I, that was our first film, but he and I actually, where we met, was on a Kellogg's Complete Brand commercial.
Really?
Yeah, and we were both very regular that day. Sorry, it's very bad. But we met on that commercial, and you know, we were sort of sitting around, and we started sort of talking about acting, and we actually drove from the set one day. He took me home, and I introduced him to my particular mentor, Don Richardson, and from there we just started doing project after project after project, and you know, it is about, you know, you're going to hear this as you know, when you enter the business, that it's all about who you know and working with people that you like. And, you know, David's one of my closest friends. And so we really enjoy working together. We did The Odd Couple, which was a great play. And
oh, that'd be perfect for you.
That was really fun.
Yeah.
Guess, who do you think played Felix and who do you think played Oscar?
Well, you played the one who was the, I don't even remember who was who.
Well, there's a clean guy and a messy guy.
I see you as being the messy guy. Was it the opposite?
No, you're right.
That bugs you, doesn't it?
I was the messy guy. You know, yeah, it was awesome though. We had a great time. It was a great fun doing that play together.
Yeah, I bet.
Then we did End of the Harvest, which was the second film, and from there we did Moment After, I think. And
then there's 1 and 2, which came later, of course.
Yeah.
And you know what's funny is a pastor friend of mine in San Diego gave me a short film because we're producing short films now, and he said, there's a great short film you got to take a look at. So I brought it home, my wife and I watched it, and it was a foreign film. So they had subtitles and all this and that, and all of a sudden, that's Brad Heller.
Yes.
The American tourist or something in the foreign language. So it was called Most. And so I didn't even know about that one, but that was a great film and you did a great job in that.
That one was, you know, that was nominated for an Academy Award.
Was it?
Yeah.
Now how did you end up in that? Because it's a foreign film. So did you audition there?
No, the guy who directed it, again, it's all who you know. You know, I'd worked with before, and he ended up writing the role for me, and there were only 2 Americans in the film, me and one other guy, and we shot it in Prague.
You did shoot in Prague. We love Prague. What a great city that is. How fun.
And in Poland and in the Czech Republic.
Nice.
So it was an incredible experience. You know, it was a lot of fun, and it was an amazing film.
Yeah.
And you know, we went to Sundance, and you know, it was just a great experience.
Very exciting.
Fun film.
Well, it's always fun, you know, watching a TV show, watching a movie, and all of a sudden seeing friends that you know. Especially when they're you, because that means you're working.
Yeah, well, I get to see you too. Every once in a while I'm flipping the channels and I'll see you in there too, which is a compliment to me. You know?
Okay, so we'll go there next. So, okay, before I met Brad, I had never done anything on television or film where I had gotten to speak a line. It was always an extra. My background was musical theater, and I've started a bunch of musical theater shows and Broadway shows all over the country, all over the world. So I had quite a career doing that, but transitioning from that to film, it's very different.
Yeah.
And so I got to Hollywood and I started working as an extra just to get comfortable on set, and I'm glad I did, because when I finally got my first line on set, I was comfortable being there, so I wasn't too nervous. But one of my first jobs was, if you remember, you worked with me on the audition and then also preparing for the role, was Bold and the Beautiful. Do you remember that by any chance? I played a doctor, and it became a recurring role.
How many years ago was that?
I don't know, but a long time ago.
Yeah.
But it turned into a recurring role in the sense that I was on the show 3 times.
That's great.
But it was my first speaking line, and we worked on it, and then from there, who you know, I knew you. You knew Kevin Downs, who Kevin, you had me set up. Kevin was having auditions, so you introduced me to Kevin. So I ended up in a movie that was Time Changer, which you were in.
Which I was in.
But that was another one of my films, but because of Brad, and I was only able to get those parts because you taught me how to act. and it's something that worked. You know, your technique, which I want to talk about, works for me. I don't know if it works for everybody. You can answer that, but it really works. And understanding how to make it real on camera. And so my advice, if you want to become an actor, talk to Brad. If you're in Hollywood, talk to Brad. And you're now doing lessons on Skype, right?
It's not just, you know, the fortunate thing is people are not, you know, locked into studying with their local community college acting teacher.
Yes.
It's global now because of the advent of Skype. And so many of my students are not even in Los Angeles, and my fiance, who is in Ukraine at the moment, I'm going to be going to Ukraine, and my lessons continue because I continue to teach on Skype when I'm there. So it's been an incredible thing to be able to teach people all over the world now. And you can teach people actually on the set, because they can sit in their dressing room and with their cell phone, you can coach them right before they go on. You know, it's pretty amazing the way technology has changed the ability to teach.
Yeah, it really is.
Yeah, it is.
Love technology. So all of that turned into me now working, you know, a lot more in television and film, and a lot of different jobs, and now principal roles where I have a lot of lines, not just a few. So, you know, and I do. Anybody I've talked to, I've always said, Brad is the one who's helped me become an actor, so I can actually get work as an actor. So thank you for that.
Well, no, my pleasure. My pleasure. It's funny, now that we're talking about Skype, because I have a student of mine, it made me think of this, and this was something that just recently happened. He's currently in Tennessee, and he visits his family in Virginia. So I teach him on Skype via Skype in Tennessee and sometimes in Virginia. And he was telling me just a story last week or 2 weeks ago. He said, you know, he was studying with me, and I guess there's a theater program in Virginia where he grew up. And they asked him, so who are you studying with? And he said, well, Brad Heller. And they in the Virginia theater said, oh, you mean the Heller technique? Oh, we've been using that. That's the one. That's the one. And I couldn't.
Really?
It was really kind of a wonderful thing to hear that all the way in Virginia, these people are studying this technique, which was pretty fun to hear. That was fun to hear.
What is the website? Is it thehellerapproach.com, right?
Yes.
Okay, thehellerapproach.com.
Yes, and we also have a Facebook page too. So.
Okay. Yeah, great. And then, of course, David White, he also gets coaching from you.
Yeah, he studies with me.
So even the star that David is, he still studies with Brad because we all constantly need work. I was just in an acting class last month with Brad. It's an ongoing thing.
Well, even Robert De Niro says when you're not, you know, working as an actor, you're studying.
Yeah.
So it really has to, the more that people understand that acting is like being an athlete, it's built on muscle memory, so that, you know, if you're always sharp, you're always ready when the audition comes in, there's this kind of fun anticipation to go to the audition rather than this fear, oh my God, you know, I haven't been practicing and I have to, it's kind of like going to the gym you know, one time a year and wondering why you can't, you know, work out well.
Yeah, and why everything's so sore and it's just not natural.
Well, Don Richardson used to say it's just like being a boxer. You know, you train and train and train, and then you get into the ring. Yeah. And that's exactly what an audition is. So yeah, David not only studies with me and do I coach him for his roles, he also, when I go away, he also teaches for me. So he's also a great teacher, and he studied with Don Richardson with me. So.
And that's how I met David, was in Brad's class, and I got to do some scene study with David many years ago. Loved working with him. He was always so dedicated and gave 100, I don't want to say 110% because I get tired of that term. He gave 100% plus. But he was always great, and that's why I think he's so successful today with his company, with his acting, with his career, with everything, because of that personality of just working hard. He worked hard to get where he's at.
Well, again, Don Richardson used to say that acting is like being an athlete.
Yeah.
And, you know, it's not an accident that Michael Jordan is one of the greatest ever. I mean, he was the first one to show up at practice and the last one to leave. So it's what you do with your talent, you know, it's honing it and working extremely hard. It's not an accident that these people are so great. Yeah. You know? So
and Kevin Downs is another one. He just recently starred in Courageous, which was a phenomenal film. If you haven't seen it, go see it. And you helped coach him for that audition as well. And I was so impressed with Kevin. I told him, as soon as I saw the movie, I jumped on Facebook and I said, Kevin, that was one of the best roles I've ever seen you do. I was so impressed. So he did a great job in that film. But again, he's worked with you, and you helped to prepare for that movie as far as the audition.
Yeah, it was fun to work with him.
So isn't that exciting for you, though, to work with people and see them grow and see?
It's incredible.
Yeah,
you know, and it's very moving to sort of see somebody come in who, you know, they can barely speak the lines, and then suddenly you work with them, excuse me, for a period of time, and now they're becoming these real human beings on command, and it's incredible. It's a great feeling. Yeah. Or to see people, you know, on a show or a movie that, you know, you've helped them grow as an actor. I mean, it's very gratifying. Yeah. So advice for actors. They obviously can catch you through Skype and if they're not here local, but advice in general, people who want to be in the faith-based film industry or even want to just break into Hollywood and do television shows, what would you offer as advice? Well, I think the first thing is to start training immediately, you know, especially if you're planning on moving to Hollywood at some point. What a lot of actors do is they make the mistake, they come to Hollywood and the very first thing they want to do is get an agent. You know, and then you ask them, well, how long have you been acting? Well, yeah, a month. And to me, what I hear is you've been playing the violin for a month and you're going to audition for the LA Symphony Orchestra. So the idea is to train well before you get here so that by the time you actually arrive, you're not burning bridges all over Hollywood. Yeah. So that would be the first and foremost thing I would suggest is start training. Find a teacher that you really like. You know, I happen to believe in what I teach, and find a technique that is not threatening to your sanity. You know, there are a lot of techniques out there that will say, I mean, crazy stuff. You know, I wrote an article about a girl. She was like 9 or 10, and one of her teachers, I guess, said to her, you know, in order to cry, I want you to think of your dog being injected with 1,000 needles. And I thought, you got to be joking me. Like, I couldn't do that. I don't want to do that, you know? And so acting is supposed to be fun. And the technique that I teach, it does keep it fun. And, you know, it's been around for decades. You know, Robert Redford used it, and Grace Kelly used it, and Kirk Douglas used it. I mean, these are legendary icons of acting. So it's not a fly-by-night technique. Yeah. So find a technique that keeps you sane, one that keeps it fun. You know, if acting was supposed to be like therapy, you know, bad therapy, it would never have stayed since the Greeks. It would have died. It's supposed to be a fun experience. Remember also, if you're going to become an actor, you have to remember that it's a business. You know, a lot of people think, oh, I'm just going to act and everything's going to work.
Yeah.
It is, they call it show business. It sounds cliche, but it really is. And you know, as far as training goes, you know, I would encourage any actor, you know, I can't vouch for any other program in the world other than my own. So I believe in what I teach. So if you're going to say, well, what should I major in if I'm going to go to school? I would say marketing. And study, you know, the technique that I teach, and study business so that you can use those tools in addition to, you know, to maybe what your coach is teaching you.
Yeah, that's definitely good advice. You mentioned your fiance a few minutes ago, a little bit ago. So you're getting married. Congratulations!
Yeah, thanks.
I just found that out myself a couple of weeks ago.
It's incredible.
Yeah,
yeah, best thing in my life.
Really?
Yeah, she's an incredible.
Isn't it nice when you? I mean, I have an amazing wife. We are madly in love. Isn't it nice to have someone in your life that you can be so close with and care about and know that you have someone there who's got your back?
Night and day.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, and again, it's the best thing in my life, hands down. You know, and to be able to come home and, you know, for us right now, it happens to be talk to each other on Skype, but you know,
because she's in Europe.
She's in Europe, yeah, in Ukraine actually. But it's been a life changer. And I, you know, and my whole philosophy is just sort of, Brad, just wait till you find the right one. Just wait and wait and wait, and finally I did, and I knew it was right.
Now, how did you know? I think that's a question many people have in relationships. How do you know? I knew.
I knew.
You just knew.
I knew.
You can't even describe it, right?
No,
you just know. It just works.
Yeah, and I can tell you that I've been in lots of long relationships, and just wasn't it. And this one, I just knew it. I knew as soon as I met her.
Wow.
You know, just instantly. I knew I was going to marry her.
Wow.
Yeah. So it was pretty clear.
Yeah. Well, that's exciting. Congratulations.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Well, that's it for today.
That's it. Well, I think we covered a lot.
Yeah, we did. I appreciate you being here.
My pleasure, Mike.
Yeah.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, thanks.
Okay.
Well, if you'd like to see more interviews like this one, make sure you go to our website and opt in, and you'll get notified every time we have new interviews with other actors and directors and producers. And our short film, we're producing at the end of August. We're going to be shooting it, I should say, at the end of August. I'm very excited. Nancy Stafford, who is a fabulous actress. You may have seen her in Christmas with a capital C, The Wager, many other things. She's fabulous, and she's agreed to be part of it. I'll be in it because of my acting coach making me so good, hopefully to not embarrass myself.
You'll be great.
It's going to be a wonderful short film, so I'm excited about that. And then I've got a couple of shows coming up that I did I want to tell you about. July 5th is Blood Relatives. So that's coming up next, well, actually very soon. Blood Relatives is on ID, Investigative Discovery. So it's Investigative Discovery.
Nice.
Yeah. And then the other one is America's Most Wanted, which we mentioned earlier. It's going to be on Lifetime, July 13th. Remember, I'm acting.
Yes,
Don't look at this and let you change your opinions of me. I'm acting.
That's right.
Because he's a really creepy guy.
I'm sure.
But thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.